Imagine a single mother scraping by in a snowy Boston cafe invited to her sister's lavish wedding, only to be humiliated in front of high society with a cruel fake auction of her and her son. But what if a mysterious stranger crashes the event revealing a secret will that flips her world upside down? From betrayal and heartbreak to empowerment and redemption, Eleanor Griffin's journey will leave you speechless. Will she rise to claim her father's legacy and rewrite her family's future watch, to uncover the shocking twists and emotional triumphs that await? Winter swooped into Boston like an uninvited guest, blanketing the city in a frosty chill. Eleanor Griffin stood by the window of the cozy Maple Street Cafe, her breath fogging the glass as she watched snowflakes dance in the November air. This little cafe, a warm haven in the upscale neighborhood, felt like a world apart from the polished streets outside. Wiping the steam from the espresso machine off the window, Eleanor's mind raced. Could she slip out early today? Her 7-year-old son, Noah, would be bounding home from school soon. Eleanor, go ahead and wrap up. Gotta pick up Noah, right, Janet? The cafe's kind-hearted owner flashed a knowing smile. She always had a soft spot for Eleanor's life as a single mom. Oh, Janet, you're a lifesaver. Thank you, Eleanor said, her gratitude spilling over as she untied her apron with a quick tug. Her eyes, though, carried a quiet weariness. Raising Noah alone was a marathon, not a sprint. His father, David, had been stolen from them in a car crash just 6 months after Noah's birth. For 7 years, Eleanor poured her heart into building a modest but love-filled life for her son. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. On her way to their small apartment, Eleanor paused at the mailbox, her fingers brushing over an elegant envelope. Her name was scrawled across it in delicate script. Inside, gold letters gleamed on creamy white paper. You and Noah Griffin are cordially invited to the wedding of Victoria Griffin and Richard Hamilton. Her heart sank. Victoria, her dazzling sister, was tying the knot with Richard Hamilton, heir to a real estate empire. Why did this feel like a storm brewing? Clutching the invitation, Eleanor trudged upstairs, her emotions a tangled mess. Mom. The door swung open, and Noah's joyful cry filled the air as he leapt from the table, homework forgotten, and barreled into her arms. His smile was like sunshine, melting away the weight of her day. Hey, sweetheart, how was school? Did you have fun? She asked, wrapping him in a tight hug. I aced my math test. Noah beamed, puffing out his chest. As she stirred a pot for dinner, Eleanor's thoughts drifted back to the invitation. Since their father William passed from a heart attack 3 years ago, her ties with her mother and sister had frayed. Martha, her mother, always showered Victoria with affection while casting a cold shadow over Eleanor. Only her father had been her rock, and now he was gone. Should she even go to this wedding? But then Noah spotted the invitation on the table. Auntie's wedding. Can we go? Please. His eyes sparkled with excitement as if it were a grand adventure. Eleanor's smile hid a knot of anxiety. How would her mother and sister treat them? Family gatherings had always left them on the sidelines like forgotten guests. That night, after tucking Noah in, Eleanor sank onto the worn living room sofa and opened an old photo album. Flipping through faded pictures of her father, her tears fell silently. William Griffin, stern real estate mogul to the world, had been her biggest cheerleader, always respecting her choices. Since his death, it was as if her place in the family had vanished. Did she even belong anymore? The next morning, she steeled herself and dialed Victoria. Hey, thanks for the invite. Noah and I will be there. Victoria's voice crackled with surprise. Oh, you're coming. That's great. Mother will be thrilled. The words dripped with insincerity, but Eleanor pressed on. Noah's so excited it's his aunt's big day after all? Victoria's tone sharpened. Sure, but can you both dress appropriately? Richard's family is, high society. The jab stung, but Eleanor kept her cool. Don't worry, we won't let you down. Hanging up, she stared out at the snow swirling outside. For Noah and for her father's memory, she'd face this wedding head-on. The big day arrived, and the Regent Plaza Hotel in downtown Boston glittered like a palace. White roses and golden ribbons cascaded from the entrance to the main hall, and a crimson carpet stretched across the marble floor. Eleanor and Noah stepped out of the taxi, nerves jangling. She dipped into her savings for a simple navy blue dress and a sharp little suit for Noah. But next to the guests' designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, they looked like sparrows among peacocks. "Mom, everyone's so—" Shiny Noah whispered, his eyes wide with wonder and a touch of fear. "They are, but we belong here too, okay?" "Chin up, sweetheart," Eleanor said, squeezing his shoulder. Inside the ceremony hall, they were ushered to seats in the back, far from the glowing center of attention. Victoria, radiant in a white gown, looked like she'd stepped out of a fairy tale. The sacred vows echoed through the church-like space, and Eleanor couldn't help but feel a pang of awe. After the ceremony, the crowd swept into the grand ballroom, a champagne gold wonderland that could hold 300 guests. Chandeliers cast a dreamy glow, making the room feel like a slice of heaven. Eleanor and Noah were led to a small table in the corner, a card reading Griffin family relatives perched on it. Martha, her mother, was nowhere near. She sat at the head table, regal and distant. As waiters served exquisite dishes, Noah's face lit up, tasting flavors he'd never imagined. Eleanor's tension eased, seeing him so happy. But every so often, she caught Martha's glance, only for her mother to turn away. "What was that about?" After the meal and the cake cutting, the MC's voice boomed. Now a special treat from the bride and groom. Music swelled and the lights dimmed. Suddenly, a spotlight pinned Eleanor and Noah to their seats. What was happening? Victoria glided toward them from the stage, her white dress shimmering, a microphone in hand. Her smile was dazzling, but was there something sharp behind it? "Thank you all for celebrating my special day." Victoria's voice was honey sweet. "But there's something even more special tonight. Look over here. My sister Eleanor and her son Noah." Every head in the room turned. Noah shrank, clutching Eleanor's hand, his cheeks burning. "My sister's a single mom, and Noah's my adorable nephew. They live in a different world from ours." Snickers rippled through the crowd. Eleanor's stomach twisted. Where was this going? "So I've got an idea," Victoria announced, her voice rising. "Let's hold a special charity auction. This single mother and her son, any takers?" Laughter exploded, sharp and cruel, as if they were clowns in a circus. Noah's eyes brimmed with tears. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. Eleanor's heart pounded, her body frozen. How could Victoria do this? Then Martha stood, snatching the microphone. "Let me sweeten the deal," she said with a cold laugh. "This auction starts at $0 because I don't think they're worth a cent." The room roared with laughter. Eleanor's chest burned with rage and shame. Noah's sobs broke through the noise, his small shoulders shaking. Enough was enough. "Let's go, Noah," Eleanor whispered, grabbing his hand. But before they could move, a calm, commanding voice cut through the chaos. $1 million. The room fell deathly silent. All eyes swung to the back, where a distinguished man stood, gray-flecked hair, impeccable suit, and an air of quiet authority. Who was he, and why was he stepping into this nightmare? The grand ballroom of the Regent Plaza Hotel fell silent, every eye locked on the man who had just turned the night upside down. His piercing blue eyes radiated a quiet strength unshaken by the chaos he'd ignited. "I'll pay $1 million for this lady and her son," he declared again, his voice steady but laced with conviction. Victoria, her perfect smile faltering, let out a nervous laugh. "Oh, someone's got a sense of humor," she chirped, trying to regain control. But the man's gaze didn't waver. "This is no joke," he said, his words slicing through the room as he stepped forward. "I am James Morrison, William Griffin's attorney." Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. Her father's attorney. She barely knew the men in her father's business world, but James Morrison's name rang a faint bell. Why was he here? And why now? He strode to the center of the ballroom, his presence commanding, and flashed a small, reassuring smile at Eleanor and Noah. Then his eyes turned icy as they fixed on Victoria and Martha. "Shall we keep this cruel auction going?" he asked, his voice low but dripping with authority. "Or is it time to face the truth?" The room froze, the chandelier's golden light casting an eerie glow on James's composed face. Richard the groom shot Victoria a confused glance, while his parents whispered anxiously, their faces tight with worry. What was happening? James turned to Eleanor, his expression softening. "Ms. Eleanor Noah, I'm so sorry you have to hear this truth in such a public way. But this was your father's wish." Eleanor clutched Noah closer, her heart pounding. What truth, Noah? His small body still trembling from the humiliation had stopped crying, but his wide eyes searched James's face for answers. Martha's voice shattered the silence, sharp and furious. This is absurd. Who do you think you are? My husband's legal matters were handled by Carter and Smith, only them. Her face twisted with rage, but James didn't flinch. With a gentle smile, he reached into his suit jacket and pulled out an envelope. You're right, Martha. But 10 years ago, William started consulting me for personal matters, especially his true will. Victoria's voice cracked as she shouted, That's a lie. Father's will was settled years ago. Everything was legal. Her confidence was crumbling, and Eleanor could see it. James calmly opened the envelope, revealing a notar notarial document. Yes, the public will was executed, he said, but this is William's real, legally binding final will. For reasons of his own, he prepared two. He raised the document, and a screen behind him lit up displaying William Griffin's final will and testament, dated April 15, 2019. The room buzzed with gasps and whispers. Could this be true? The screen revealed detailed clauses, each one a bombshell. William had left 85% of his assets, his entire stake in Griffin real estate, his personal properties, everything equally divided between Eleanor and Noah. Martha and Victoria's faces drained of color, their eyes darting to each other in panic. Richard's father gripped his son's arm, muttering something urgent. James pressed on, his voice unwavering. The remaining 15% ensures Martha's living expenses, but she has no further rights. And the management of Griffin real estate, that goes entirely to Eleanor. He addresses another document, holding it up like a sword. This shows the flow of assets over the past 3 years. The screen flickered, revealing a web of bank transactions and numbers that painted a damning picture. Illegal fund transfers orchestrated by Martha and Victoria were laid bare for all to see. Eleanor's heart raced. How could they? James's voice remained steady. Before his heart attack, William knew his health was failing. He feared what might happen to Eleanor and Noah after he was gone. He saw the unfairness looming. Tears stung Eleanor's eyes. Her father had been watching over her all along, hadn't he? She could almost feel his warm gaze, the one she'd seen in every old photo. William tasked me with a mission, James continued. For 3 years after his death, I was to monitor Martha and Victoria, gather evidence of their actions, and reveal the truth when the time was right. Eleanor's chest tightened. Her father had believed in her independence, admired her strength in raising Noah alone. But he'd also wanted to ensure she received the inheritance she deserved. Martha shot to her feet, trembling with fury. This is nonsense. I was William's wife. The company's shares are mine by right. Her voice shook, but James didn't blink. Legally, you're mistaken, he said coolly. This will is valid and has been submitted to the court. In fact, a judge is here tonight. He nodded toward a stern-faced man in the corner, who gave a slight nod back. The room felt electric with tension. Victoria's composure shattered. This is fraud. We've done nothing wrong, she screamed. James reached for a final envelope, his movements deliberate. Then let's hear from William himself, shall we? He unfolded a letter and began to read in a quiet, resonant voice. Dear Eleanor and Noah, if you're hearing this, James has followed my instructions. I'm so sorry for keeping this from you these past 3 years, but I had my reasons. I needed to know you were strong enough to raise Noah to stand on your own. And I wanted the world to see Martha and Victoria's true colors. They've manipulated me for years, scheming to seize the company's assets. Eleanor's tears fell freely now. Her father's words were like a warm embrace across time. When my health began to fail, they planned to cut you out, Eleanor, to strip you and Noah of your rightful inheritance. But you are my true heir. Your honesty, your strength, your kindness. These are the heart of Griffin Real Estate. Noah is growing into a remarkable boy, thanks to your love. The company is yours, Eleanor, and one day Noah's. No matter what they try, this will is ironclad. Trust James, he's my dearest friend and your protector. One last thing, I'm so proud of you, Eleanor. And Noah, Grandpa's always watching over you. With all my love, Dad. The ballroom was a tomb of silence. Eleanor's sobs mingled with Noah's soft question. Mom, did Grandpa really remember me? She hugged him tightly, whispering, Oh, sweetheart, of course he did. He loved you so much. Martha and Victoria stood frozen, their faces ashen. Richard's father leapt up, his voice booming with rage. What is this? My son was about to marry into a family of liars. Richard stared at Victoria, his eyes a storm of betrayal and hurt. How had it come to this? James approached Eleanor, his voice gentle. Miss Eleanor Noah, it's time to leave. The legal process is already underway, and there's more you need to know. Eleanor rose, taking Noah's hand, her heart swelling with a newfound strength. She scanned the room, her mother and sister fading into insignificance. All she felt was gratitude for her father's love and a fierce resolve for the future. They slipped out through the hotel's back entrance, where James's sleek black sedan waited. As they drove away, Eleanor draped a coat over Noah, who had fallen asleep in the back seat, his small face peaceful at last. The city lights blurred past the window, mirroring the whirlwind of emotions in Eleanor's heart. Love for her father, raw anger at her mother and sister, and the shock of a life built on lies. What did it all mean? You must be exhausted, James said softly. I've reserved a hotel for tonight. The legal work starts tomorrow, so rest up. Eleanor took a shaky breath. Why didn't Dad tell me any of this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. James paused, choosing his words carefully. William wanted to shield you. He saw through Martha and Victoria's schemes, but avoided confronting them directly. When his health worsened, he knew what they'd do. The 3-year wait, that was his plan. He wanted you to prove your strength, to stand tall on your own, and he waited for them to expose themselves. Eleanor gazed at the sleeping Noah, her heart aching with love and determination. Her father had believed in her, had orchestrated this moment to protect her and Noah. The road ahead was daunting, legal battles a company to lead a new life to build. But for the first time, she felt ready. With James's guidance and her father's legacy, she'd face it all. For Noah, for herself, for the truth. The black sedan glided through Boston's snowy streets, and James kept his eyes on the road, his voice steady but warm. Your father always knew you'd raise Noah into someone extraordinary, and he saw in you the strength to lead Griffin Real Estate. He believed in you, Eleanor, more than you might ever know. Eleanor brushed away a tear, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. I had no idea Dad thought so highly of me. Why didn't he ever say it? James's gaze softened. Oh, he said it plenty, trust me. Eleanor's tougher than anyone, and he'd tell me, no matter what life throws at her, she'll rise. The next morning, Eleanor and Noah stepped into James's sleek office, a world of polished wood and glass. Stacks of legal documents awaited court orders, injunctions, asset freezes, all meticulously prepared. Could this really be happening? William's true will is authenticated and filed with the court. James explained, his tone brimming with confidence. The judge at the wedding last night, he's already signed off on it. He leaned forward. Martha and Victoria's assets are frozen and every illegal transfer they made null. In void, Eleanor's mind spun. What's next? Where do we even start? She asked, glancing at Noah, who was in the next room giggling as James's secretary read him a story. James smiled reassuringly. First, you take the reins of Griffin Real Estate. All company accounts will be under your control. We're demanding every cent Martha and Victoria siphoned off be returned. Eleanor cradled her head in her hands, doubt creeping in. Me run a massive company, can I really do this? James's grin was infectious. You studied business administration, didn't you? Top of your class. William told me. You've got the brains and the company's got a stellar team. Plus, I'm here, and William left detailed plans to back you up. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor's world transformed at breakneck speed. Legal battles erupted, but James's evidence was ironclad. Martha and Victoria lost everything, their ill-gotten wealth, their social standing. Richard called off the engagement, and Victoria vanished from Boston's elite circles. Martha, too, faded into obscurity, both retreating to a modest life in the suburbs. Noah started at a new school, his eyes bright with fresh possibilities, and Eleanor She stepped into her role as CEO of Griffin Real Estate, her heart pounding with nerves but also a flicker of excitement. At first, the corporate world felt like a maze, but Eleanor's instincts kicked in. You're William's daughter through and through, a seasoned executive told her one day, his voice full of respect. You've got his vision, his kindness, his fire. Eleanor's quiet smile hid a surge of pride. 3 months later, she invited James to her cozy new home, the air warm with the scent of dinner. Noah was fast asleep upstairs, And as Eleanor poured wine, she fixed James with a knowing look. There's more you haven't told me, isn't there? Spill it, James chuckled, swirling his glass. All right, you caught me. It started 10 years ago. William came to me suspicious of Martha and Victoria's schemes. He saw their greed growing, and he wanted you and Noah safe. Eleanor's eyes glistened. Dad planned it all, didn't he? To protect us, James nodded, his voice soft but firm. Every step. He made me promise one last thing, to watch over you and Noah no matter what. Eleanor's smile was radiant. You're keeping that promise, James. More than you know. From that night, her life bloomed. At Griffin Real Estate, she unveiled a bold new vision, eco-friendly housing, and a groundbreaking project to support single parents. This is my father's legacy, but it's also our future, she declared at a board meeting, her voice ringing with conviction. We'll build a company that lifts up our community. The board's unanimous approval felt like a triumph. Eleanor didn't stop there. She founded the William Griffin Foundation, a beacon for single parents struggling to make ends meet. Noah, with his infectious enthusiasm, became its unofficial mascot, charming everyone at events. Mom, I want to help people just like Grandpa did, he said one evening, his eyes shining. Eleanor pulled him into a hug, her heart bursting. Oh, Noah, you will. You already are. James, too, became more than an advisor. He was a steady presence, taking Noah to baseball games, exploring science museums, and trading jokes that left the boy in stitches. Their bond grew a quiet comfort in Eleanor's bustling new life. One crisp morning, Eleanor stood in her father's old office, now hers, the CEO plaque gleaming on the desk. She picked up his framed photo, her fingers tracing his familiar smile. Thank you, Dad, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I'll make you proud, I promise. Outside Boston sparkled under spring sunlight, a city brimming with hope. Far away in a modest suburban apartment, Martha Griffin stood by a rain-streaked window, her once glamorous attire replaced by simple clothes. The weight of her choices pressed heavily on her. In the corner, Victoria tapped away at a laptop, now a clerk at a small real estate firm. Her ties to the Hamiltons and her high society friends were gone, severed like a frayed thread. Mother wants something to drink, she asked, her voice softer, stripped of its old arrogance. Martha sighed. Tea, please. Thanks. Their new reality was stark. No mansions, no luxury cars, just the grind of earning a living. That afternoon, they found themselves at Eleanor's office, the words Griffin Real Estate President, Eleanor Griffin, gleaming on the door. The secretary ushered them in. Sorry to keep you waiting, come on in. Eleanor looked up from her desk, no longer the weary cafe worker, but a poised leader, the Boston skyline framing her like a crown. Mother Victoria, she said, rising with a calm grace that took them aback. Martha's voice wavered. Eleanor, it's been a while. I just wanted to see you. Eleanor gestured to the sofa. Please sit. As they settled, Victoria spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. We're here to apologize. What we did to you and Noah at the wedding with Dad's inheritance, it was awful. Unforgivable. Eleanor's expression was steady, unshaken. That's behind us now. What matters is how we move forward. Martha's brow furrowed. What do you mean, she asked, her voice tinged with fear. Eleanor slid a folder across the table. This is a new arrangement. It covers your rent and living expenses, honoring the 15% Dad left for you, Mother. Martha and Victoria stared at the document, stunned. Why would you do this? Victoria asked, tears brimming. After everything we put you through, Eleanor gazed out at the city, her voice soft but resolute. Because it's what Dad wanted. He believed in family even when it was hard. And for Noah, having his grandmother and aunt in his life matters. Martha's tears fell freely, a dam breaking. For the first time, she felt a flicker of real love for her grandson. There's one condition, Eleanor added. You meet with Noah once a month. He deserves to know you. The room was quiet, the weight of her words sinking in. On Christmas night, Eleanor's new home glowed with warmth, the Christmas tree twinkling as laughter filled the air. Noah's friends, company employees, and special guests, including Martha and Victoria, gathered around. James raised his glass, his eyes sparkling. To a bright, beautiful future, Eleanor's smile met his, their connection deepening into something more than partnership. By the snowy window, Noah clutched his grandfather's photo, his voice small but curious. Mom, I never met Grandpa, but he was good, right? Like really good, Eleanor wrapped him in a hug, her heart full. Oh, Noah, he was the best. And he's still watching over us every single day. Outside, snow fell softly on Boston, blanketing the city in quiet promise.